Hey everyone, and welcome back to I forgot the name of the podcast. What's the name of this podcast again?
Life Unscripted.
Yeah, welcome back to Life Unscripted.
You're going to keep that in?
Hell yeah, I'm keeping it in. Unscripted. Just before we put the camera on, we were at the cinema yesterday, went with my mum and dad.
Yep.
We saw Better Man, the Robbie Williams biopic. Is that the word? Is it a biopic?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah?
No,
I think that's what that type of film's called. It's called a biopic, right?
I don't know. Yeah, yes.
Whatever. Right. We were showing the Robbie Williams film yesterday called Better Man. What did you think of it?
Surprisingly, really, really good. I think I've spoken to a couple of people about this, but whenever I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh, what is this? Well, Robbie Williams, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I watched this documentary, and I think obviously we were quite young whenever he was in his heyday. But I think he's great. I love him as a singer. Like his music, he's got his bops. Rock DJ is always great at like a 2000s party. And I watched his documentary, and I felt so sad for him. So obviously I knew a bit about his story, but then seeing the trailer for this movie, initial thought was like, why are you a CGI chimpanzee? Monkey? Ape? What is he?
The first and the third one.
Chimpanzee and ape?
Yes.
Sorry. I was like, why are you a CGI animal? And I was just sort of like, it's going to take me out of it. I don't really know if I'm going to enjoy it, but honestly, the best surprise. And you kind of forget seeing him as the chimpanzee.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
I think that's been the general consensus of everyone I've spoke to.
I found it so emotional.
I was didn't know what to think going in, and him being a chimpanzee was a bit off. But then it worked really well, actually.
Yeah, and actually in relation, obviously no spoilers. If you want to go watch it, please go watch it. If you want to watch it, don't listen to this because I think we're going to talk about it.
No, I mean, we can give it spoiler free.
Yeah, but I just mean in the trailer, you have no clue. And then when you go watch the movie, it's such a surprise. So if you want to keep it a surprise, I just wouldn't listen to this a little bit. But I would definitely say that the movie is like, if you want a visual description of how to understand what the script is and what we're saying and what we're talking about with that negative voice in your head, this movie explains it.
He does. There is that voice in his head.
And I feel like I'm a very visual person. I'd like to have like a better understanding of actually seeing, but in my head, whether I'm talking about my identity or the script, or if I feel like I can't stop eating, I kind of call her Fat Debs, I give her a character. And it's like that in this movie. Like he's on stage, he has become successful, he got in the boy band, he's now having a solo career, he's at the biggest stage he's ever wanted, he's achieving everything he wants to achieve, but he still thinks he's not enough. And he's on stage and sees all these like evil versions of himself watching him saying, why are you up there? You're embarrassing yourself, you're not good enough. All this, it's all the things that we probably say to ourselves in some sort of level, but it gives you, it's what the script says to you, but it gives you that visual representation in the movie. And I was sitting there like, that's the script. That's the script. Oh my God, it was like clicking in my head. It was an amazing experience. And I found it so emotional. And I felt so sad for him. But also gives a great example of no matter how successful you are, or rich you are, or if you get everything that you ever wish for, there's probably the script will still get you in some way.
He does say that at some point in the film, like he got everything he'd ever wished for. And then I can't remember what he says after, like it wasn't enough or still whatever, or didn't give him what he thought he'd get from it. Yeah, I think a lot of these biopics, because we recently watched the Elvis Presley one as well, which was sad also, but it's just, yeah.
We've watched Elton John and the Bohemian Rhapsody one as well. Like it's such a sad story with these such high icons in like in the music or acting or film industry. And like us, they go through so much. And obviously like because it's represented on like a movie, film, whatever, like it just, it's so sad.
It's just a great example again of, I think, all the getting more stuff or getting like achieving more isn't necessarily going to remedy or rectify or appease the script. I think is probably how I've interpreted it. Like, because obviously I've not achieved like to the same degree as they have in terms of like finance and fame and stuff. But in my own life, certainly trying to achieve things, not knowing about the script and wondering why I still never felt enough in spite of doing that. And I think just learning about the script and understanding that it's like how long, it's like what we said before in the podcast, how long is it going to take you to find something if you're looking for it in the wrong place? It's going to take you forever. And I think when you're in that like that script identity and you're looking for it, you're never going to appease the script. The goalpost will always be, or at least for me, the goalpost was always being moved. Sorry, I've got something in my eye and it's really bugging me. Sick. The goalpost was always being moved, and yeah, I was never able to get the feelings that I wanted. And then I think it was just realizing that when you start looking for something in the right place, the feelings are already inside of you. Like, the criteria that need to be fulfilled in order for you to feel a certain way are kind of like, they're made up, and in this case they were made up by the script, so I was never able to actually fulfill the criteria. But when I realized I was able to just feel the way I wanted now and start with being enough, I could then just go do this stuff because, I mean, why not? Like, we're here, so I can give my life a purpose or purposes if I want, and I can then go do stuff because why would I not? Like, when I really think about it and feel it, like, that's exactly what I would want to do with myself. Like, it's a question I've asked it a couple of times this week on Instagram, actually. It was like, I've totally blanked on what that, I've totally blanked actually. It's would you do this if you knew you were enough? Like, would you do what you're doing, the thing you're about to do, if you already knew you were enough? And if the answer is yes, then I go do it. And if the answer is no, then it's a high chance it's coming from more of that like scripty place of like lack. So I think, just in my own life, to a lesser degree, from a finance and fame point of view, like I said, I think the pursuit of achievement never gave me what I was looking for, because it was that I was coming from, like, I was doing to then have, and then the hope to be being me and feeling the way I wanted, when really the flipping that on its head and making it more of a be, do, have thing has just been, it's worked way better for me and how I've felt, you know.
And even from watching the movie, I remember watching some of his performances like later on in life whenever I was a young adult or whatever, and I think it's whenever he performed it at Nebworth. I think it was 125,000 people, and I remember watching that performance. I thought it was incredible. And then now watching the movie, that was like his breaking point. Where like the script was coming in and attacking him at all angles, and in the movie he's literally fighting himself. And I think it's such a powerful moment, and again it just really explains what we're trying to talk about here. But in my head I was like, that's exactly how I feel whenever I'm trying to do something big or small. I'm not saying I'm trying to get up on stage and sing in front of people. Like, I can't even fathom what that feels like. But if you're coming from a place of, and I think Robbie Williams was like clinically depressed and had mental health issues, even from a very young age. But that's what people are going through on a very big scale, or a lot smaller if you have been diagnosed with anxiety or not. Like, you're going through that sort of self-identity issue. And I completely agree that, so I think for me, whether I'm wanting to, I don't know, achieve a big dream I've always wanted to do, or exercise more, eat better, anything like that, I always stop myself. Well, I don't, it's the script. The script is stopping myself, and it's telling me that I can't do this. Why would you want to do this? You're going to be a fraud. You're going to be a fake. However, by shifting my identity and truly believing and just letting go of what the script is saying to me, I know I'll be able to do it because it feels right. It's that way. I'm like, I want to go for a walk, or I want to go and exercise and move my body. I want to nourish my body with all these great foods. And it gets a bit tricky to understand, I think, but it's that way, that feeling when you have like a biscuit, a cup of tea, that comfort that you get, the endorphins, that I think even chocolate releases serotonin or something. The feelings that you get from that, it's like a fix in a way. And then removing that from your life and kind of having a detox from, whether it be food, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, you then have to come to terms with how you're feeling and why you're necessarily using things as a crutch. And I think by doing that, you're then having a bigger identity shift about, like, just letting yourself, your real sense of self come through. I think it's really powerful.
I think I went through a lot of, even when I was trying to like eat better in the past, or exercise, or like cut out certain things that I didn't think were supporting me, when I was still doing it from that place of like, I'm not enough, and if I do this, maybe then I'll be enough, or I'll feel better, or I'll feel the way I want, it still never really largely worked. Yes, when you exercise and when you eat better, your body does feel better, but it's like internally I was still having that civil war inside my head. And that voice of like doom was still there, still kind of, it was still running the roost in a way. And I don't think it was until I realized that I'm enough in spite of all that stuff. Regardless of all that stuff, I'm enough. It's because for me, it's really, I think, something that is a big part of like the personal development world that I was a part of for many years, is this like massive action is like a cure-all. Like, that's the thing you need to be doing, massive action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can become equally as detrimental as it could potentially be positive when all you're doing is taking massive action and you still think that you're the script, because that's what I was doing. And I think just realizing that because even these people who were watching these biopics or other people who I watch and listen to are taking massive action, and they're still having like these really like tough internal battles. The massive action doesn't seem to be working, and it didn't largely work for me. So I think it was more a case of coming back to, again, the script is never going to think I'm enough, and I am enough. And you said it's a bit complicated to understand. I think one of the really simple ways to understand it, or one of the ways that I really simply understood, if it feels good, it's me. If it doesn't feel good, it's the script. And it's really that simple. Like, I think it is a really simple thing we're talking about here. And it's just, remembering what I said there, that I am enough. And then I can choose to go take action, because, why would I not want to exercise and look after myself? But even, why would I not want to be able to enjoy? We've got some cookies over there that my mum gifted us very kindly. Thank you. Why would I not want to be able to enjoy a couple of cookies? It's like, it's less to do with what you're doing, I think, and more to do with like that intent and why, like, coming from a place of lack or a place of enough, a place of like desperation or a place of deserving.
Yeah.
I think like, and that's the identity, like the identity of I am enough or I am deserving versus the identity of I am not enough or I am desperate. Because that's really what I was doing. And one of them was given to me by the script, and one of them that I chose, because I would choose that I am deserving, I am enough identity. So when I realized it was a script that was choosing, I was then given the power to choose. So then I chose that, and I just, and I think for me, because of that massive action personal development script, it is really important for me to reinforce that. Because even with this stuff, I can still feel the script. It's like, we've maybe said it before, but as I've become more conscious, the script has had to get a bit better at how it gets me, because before it could literally stand in front of me and say, "You're shit, mate." And I'd be like, "Damn it, you're right. Like that's you're right. I am shit." Whereas now, the script will say that to me still. It still says it to me. It's just because it's always playing all its cards. It's always trying all its tricks. It's just many of the tricks don't work no more. So now it's like, "You're shit, mate." And I'd be like, "Shut up. Like, I know that's not true.
Yeah.
I know it's the script saying that now." But with that, what some things it will do is, like with this stuff, it's always trying to turn it into, because me and Sarah were speaking about a couple of things I'd written on my phone just as reminders, and one of them was to not turn everything into a to-do list, because the script really wants to do that with me. So it's like, I'm saying focusing on being enough and focusing on shifting my identity, or starting with identity and coming from the identity of deserving and enough. The script tries to turn that into an action thing.
Yeah.
So it wants to make it an action thing again, and it just starts to swim in those scripty waters again. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with action. Like, I think especially like taking action to help you, for example, shift your identity or get out of the script there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just like, not in my head listening to the script turn everything into we have to take massive action in order for this to be a success. Because it's not true, because even if you don't take any action, you're still enough. And it's remembering, for me, I'm talking to myself here, to work from that place of I'm enough. And then what would the real me choose to do? The real me would choose to build a business because it's fun and it can help a lot of people. And I would choose to look after my body with what I eat. But then I would also choose to sometimes have a cookie or have a Guinness. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's just coming from that place of, because I know I'm enough, I'm able to make those more like sound decisions and then take the actions that are good for me and that are enjoyable for my life as well, you know?
I think it's quite maybe a common like attribute to most people as well, that, see, for instance, if I was to cook myself dinner, I find that more of a chore than if I was to cook us dinner. The little things that help to nourish your body and look after yourself, sometimes I find, well, the script finds that I can't be bothered to do it for myself, but I'll do it for other people. And even when it comes to like my diabetes and looking after myself when I was younger, I did it for the people around me, not for myself. And I even remember having a conversation where it was like, why don't you want to look after yourself? I was like, I don't really care. I'm doing it so I don't get into trouble. So like from being a child and looking after my diabetes, I didn't see the need to like look after myself. And even now, yes, I'm doing it. And now it's become so much of a habit that like I know what to do and how to do it and whatnot. But I'm not thinking, I'm doing this to like prolong my life, like to live the best, healthiest life I can possibly live. I'm doing it just because I need to survive. Like, it's like in my head, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it so that I'm around here longer so I can be with you. And I'm doing it for everybody that's like, I'm close to. I really want to get to the identity of like, I want to cook this meal for myself that's nourishing and looks after my body for me, not just because I'm having to do it because I know you want to have dinner as well. And I think for a lot of people to feel self-deserving for that, it's really difficult.
It is. But it is in the sense that it's only difficult if you're trying to ask the script to feel deserving about it. That's what I mean. Like the script will just never feel deserving about it. Like you're never going to find deserving in that filing cabinet because it's just not there.
But I wonder if self-deserving in a way, especially throughout the generations, if it feels not like you, it's like you don't come first. It's like you're too arrogant and cocky or whatever to like make sure that you look after yourself, that you want to make sure you, especially in like my parents' generations and in our family, like they would always put the kids first and make sure that they had nice clothes and they necessarily didn't. They don't, it's like, oh, I don't need that. But you can have it.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think an analogy I'm thinking of that I quite like for that then is like, you can see the oxygen mask one, but I think another one I really like that maybe that represents it is, you're totally right. There's nothing wrong with looking after those around you and wanting to do that. Like I want to do that. It's just, it's the difference between someone's in quicksand. So I jump in the quicksand in an attempt to pull them out and now we're both in the quicksand and we're both drowning versus me throwing a rope into the quicksand to help them out.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not helping them. It's just that I'm not drowning myself in an attempt to help them.
But also you jumping into the quicksand would make you both go down quicker.
Well, exactly. And we're both, regardless of the speed, we're both going down. We're both now in the quicksand going down. And I'm now not in a very good position to help that person.
Yeah.
Something I was thinking about in terms of what you were saying there, I think I have been thinking about like maybe motivation is the wrong word, but what's that like identity I'm coming from in terms of looking after myself and stuff. And I think a big part of it actually is because in the past I have used these behaviors like looking after, like eating right and tracking what I'm eating and going to the gym it's again, it's actions that the script is hijacked and it's become probably quite detrimental to my health, be it physical or mental, because I end up becoming obsessive and doing too much. But really I think the compass is I want easy. And easy doesn't necessarily mean not doing things that are necessarily challenging. What it means is
you're like not lazy, like you're wanting it to be
not even
like it feels right.
Not even necessarily. I guess lazy, not being lazy, but really what I mean is if by making the choices that I know are good for my body, which most of the times eating whole foods, eating plenty of protein, fruits and veggies, it's exercising in a way that grows my body and sometimes pushing it, but not constantly pushing it. And moving it however feels good sometimes, that stuff is going to make my life easier purely because I'm now living in a body that can support me.
Yes.
So it's like, yes, I've had to do things. Like I've had to, sometimes prep meals, sometimes make a nice dinner, actually go to the gym sometimes. So maybe I'm like, my mind's like, oh, I can't be arsed. I'd rather just watch some TV. It's like, but I know by making those choices, in the moment, it maybe doesn't feel easier, but it's actually making my life easier.
Really, yeah.
And what I want is easy. I don't want a body that's like, it feels easier to sit and watch TV and eat a bag of crisps and never look after myself. But down the line, that's going to become way harder. And what I want is easy.
But even with eating the right foods, like your skin feels better, you're ill less, you have more energy, your like attention, like I find if I don't eat right, my like concentration and attention will be quite foggy. Like I won't be
which is what I mean by easy. Like having more energy, being able to focus better, feeling better, my skin being healthier, like all that makes my life easier.
Definitely.
Which is what I want. So that's like a compass. And even like as a compass I've started to really use with my business and stuff, because that's somewhere the script definitely creeps in a lot, but it's like I still want easy.
Yeah.
So, but again, that's not me just like sitting there being like, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Because that's actually not easier. That actually makes my life harder.
Yes.
What makes things easier is being consistent with certain things in my business that sometimes the script's like, oh, we can't be arsed to do this. But I actually know by doing it, I get an easier life.
Yeah, it even runs in with the house. Like, see if you've got dishes that you need to clear up after dinner before the night before work, by meal prepping, by organising your food. I think this is great. I think this is a great motivation.
It's also much easier.
Yeah. Like then by meal prepping and having your food ready and your bag ready the night before, it's like what you tell. I remember growing up, my mum would always be like, make sure your bag's packed the night before. And I'd be like, oh, why? Like, make sure you go to bed on time. I'm like, oh, why? Now I'm like in bed by 9, guys.
Because I think...
but that makes it easier. Like 100%, you're not tired. You're not feeling sluggish. You then also make the right food choices as well, that I find. If you're underslept, I'm like, oh, I just want something easy. I can't be bothered. You're more satiated with the right foods that you're eating because you've organized it the weekend at the weekend before. Your life is 100% easier. And then I think even with the tasks and work, if there's things you're wanting to put off because you don't want to, in my case, necessarily phone somebody, or if you just don't want to do it, you think it's going to be way hard, but when you actually do it, it's not that bad. By clearing those tasks, your anxiety is brought down immensely. You're on top of what you're doing. You're ahead of the ball rolling, aka making your life easier.
I think maybe another example of this that I think we're really good at, which is why I think our relationship for the most part feels very easy. Of course, we love each other, but I think we do, whenever there's a conversation that needs to be had, sometimes it may be at most a few weeks before we speak about it, but largely it's very quick. It's much quicker than that. And I think, again, although those conversations in isolation can be tough sometimes when we have to have tougher conversations about things, it actually makes our relationship a lot easier because now we're communicating openly. We're doing it from a place of love. We're not attacking each other, but we're having those regular... It's not like we have to have these all the time, but when we need to have slightly more like challenging or tough conversations, we don't leave it too long.
Yeah.
And I think that just, again, it makes our relationship easier. So it's like easy. The word easy is funny because technically it's kind of tough, but it's not really, because I know it makes things easier.
I think the way that you're describing it is actually perfect. And I think it does provide, especially for me, because I don't think you've actually ever said this before. You've said it in ways.
Well, I want an easy life.
Well, you haven't said the word. I think easy is really powerful. Like the actions that you set in place. Yeah. Whether it is like going for so I've started going for a walk in the morning before work. Yeah. By doing that, because I have quite a sedentary job, I'm at my desk between 9 to 5. I've been fighting to get enough steps in so that I can eat a bit more food or not feel sluggish or feel like the food I'm eating is making me gain weight. But being a little bit more active, I'm able to get over 10,000 steps. But I do it before work. Yes, in the moment, that action feels hard. But by 8 p.m. that night, my life is easy. And it's 30 minutes in the morning that I feel like this is like I don't really necessarily want to do it. However, I believe that that's the script and my identity wants to go for that walk. I want to go for the walk and feel good, come in, feel energized and refreshed before I go to work. And I'm not just rolling out of bed and
scurrying for the bus.
Yeah, scurrying for the bus or driving into work. And I'm like, and also my breakfast and my lunches are made at the weekend. I don't really like eating that early in the mornings. I have to get up early to go to work. So by doing that, I'm making sure I've got enough protein. And if I'm ever wanting to track how much I'm eating, like protein or calories wise, I do it all at the weekend and I know what I'm eating. So I can input all that information, all those little things you're preempting, like your day-to-day life. So that means your days run so smoothly that you're not thinking, what do I need to go get for lunch? Or I don't want to necessarily spend that much. Everything's organized. It's just being organized. By being organized, it makes your life so much easier. So it allows for that time during the week. After work, you've meal prepped your dinner, you've got your breakfast sorted, whatever. You can sit down in the evening and relax and it makes it feel easy.
I think something we spoke about recently as well that maybe ties into this theme of easiness is... And this is something I've done a lot in the past, and it's something I've really over the last few months I've been taking more of a conscious effort. There's that word that I love, conscious, to have this be something I'm focused on doing. And there's that word again, doing. So it's like, this is what I mean with like, that word doing, I think the script loves when I say it because it's like, yes, this is another thing we have to do. It's more, so what I've done is I've taken a note. This is how I've combated this, so it doesn't become this like scripted taking massive action thing for me again. I have put it in my phone as a note, so I've actually got 15 different pictures now because it has grown slightly, but I've got 15 different pictures that run as like a carousel on my phone home screen, and they just have different little reminders for me. So rather than me have this like, again, not turning everything to do this to-do list, so this is another thing I have to get done, it's more just when I just trust that I'll open my phone at the right time and it'll come as a reminder when I need it. And it's not making other people's shit my shit. This is the thing I was getting to, because I think it's again something that's just going to make my life harder when and by not making other people's shit my shit, what I mean by that is it's like not making, you know, what the script is saying to other people my problem necessarily. It's not that I'm not wanting to help people who I care about. I always do. It's just about not making kind of like the scripty things that they're experiencing, not letting my script then beat me up about it as well. You know, I think maybe an example of my relationships, I know we spoke about it in the past and we spoke about it the other day, is we spoke about it. You and I spoke about it the other day, but we have spoke about this in the podcast before. And that's that when we started our relationship, the script was obviously beating you up about deserving of being in the relationship. And I think for me, that's an example of the script's attacking you about something, but I'm not going to make that shit my shit, because I know you're deserving of the relationship. I love you and I want to be in the relationship with you. So I'm going to stick to that like paradigm and that identity. And well, I'll just be excited for when you realize that as well. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't want to support that you're feeling that, because we did have many conversations and I did feel like I was really tried to be supportive throughout you feeling like that. But it's more like what's going on internally with me. Like I'm not letting the script then be like, oh, because like Sarah's going to start self-sabotaging because she's feeling like this, and then it's not going to work for the relationship because like the script will make me feel that way.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I'm not letting that, what you're experiencing from the script, become my shit as well, because then it just ends up there's just too much script action going on.
Yeah.
And I'm not always successful at it because I'm a human being, but it is something I'm trying to remind myself of.
Yeah, and it provides me a platform to be able to speak freely and to have crazy thoughts and not let it impact the relationship.
Because I do like which you've never really like that anymore, but when you were like that when we first started dating, it was I was just stayed largely calm because I'm like, I'm not just going to I'm not going to make your scripty shit my scripty shit as well.
You're probably like, who is this crazy girl?
No, I really understood, because I think actually exactly what you were saying to me and exactly how you were feeling, I had felt in the past when I'd been in other relationships. So I guess I just understood. And I also knew that, I didn't know then, but I knew now that it was the script. And I also knew that I was able to live past that. So I knew you could too. And you were always really open to whenever we spoke. Everything we spoke about in the podcast, you've always been really open to it. And the fact that you were so receptive to it, I think, is why I was like, yeah, it's like, this will work.
She has hope.
Well, I just knew it because you were just so, and I'm like, I was really receptive to it, and it's what allowed me to move past that. So I'm like, and I could see you for who you really were. So I'm like, there's no reason you couldn't do it. And I'm making this like this. You largely were you. It's just when you were having these moments, I could see past it, and I could just relate. I could just empathize with what you were going through.
I find it funny though, because my script would at that time say to me, he's got everything together, like he's perfect. Why on earth would he want to be dating somebody like me? And then I would actually vocalize that to you, and I actually couldn't imagine or fathom you to have trust issues or issues with a relationship just because of how put together you are. But it's just the identity work that you've done to realize, well, you just basically told the script to F off. But
yeah, but and even though I have, but it still hasn't it's never gone away, and it never will.
But
so
the improvement you've made from how you used to feel to now is
it's night and day. It's totally night and day. Like
the stories you've told me about how you felt, like either in past relationships or experiences that you had, like I actually can't believe it.
Honestly, see, living now, knowing about the script, which is the negative voice inside your head. That's just the word we use for it if anyone's unaware or needs reminded. I struggle to think how I navigated life before knowing about this. Like, before thinking I was the script, how was I actually navigating things? Because I can't think about how I was doing it. I mean, I can. It wasn't great. Like we said the other day, like I don't know if I was having panic attacks, but I would have these like, because no one ever told me, like a professional or something never said, this is panic attacks you're having. But I would have something that sounds like a panic attack, and I would like really have these like breakdowns where I'd have really big ones sometimes, because if I'd bottle things up for too long, but I'd have like mini ones as well, where I'd have these like crazy anxiety attacks where I'd freeze and I wouldn't know what to do type deals. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this. We've not had one of these this episode, and I feel like it's not an episode of Life Unscripted if I don't completely lose my train of thought. What was I saying?
I was so involved in the moment that actually...
I was saying that I used to... I basically was just saying I don't know how I navigated life before this. And yeah, before knowing about the script, like it's wild to think back to life pre-script and how it felt.
Yeah, it makes me really sad actually. Because I've seen moments where either the script, whether you call it a script attack or the script has really got you, and it could literally be something as small as technology or something not working or something hasn't uploaded or something hasn't saved. And maybe you've been working for long hours and you just want to get it done and it's not getting done, and the script definitely comes through. I've seen moments like that, probably more at the start of our relationship, but seeing you like that broke my heart. And at that time, I know you just need love and support just to be like, everything's okay. It's just a script, until you realize you get out of the fog, out the clouds would disappear. But seeing you in those moments, I can imagine, because of how I felt whenever I first met you, those two combined before you knowing about the script, it just makes me really sad.
Just spiral you in. I still get those moments. But I think that's really important to say on the podcast, because it's like you've just said, where you're like, oh, I thought you had everything together. And I'm like, well, I still have the script and it still gets me.
Well, that's the thing with the Robbie Williams movie. Like, we're watching this incredible guy perform on stage, and we all knew that he had problems, but he still shows up and he was singing his heart out. But in that performance, all he could see was the negative versions of himself attacking him during like the biggest moment in his career. I
would say probably what's different about how I'm feeling, maybe about what you've just said there, is I still have many moments where I have way more moments now where I really feel like myself. And even when I am doing things, I'm doing them from like a place of I'm enough and I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm experiencing that a lot more now, but I still have lots of moments where the script is getting me. Like I say, because the script, it's like I become more conscious. Like this game, the script becomes sneakier about how it tries to get me. It tries to, it even tries to it's constantly trying to isolate me. And this is actually in part, maybe I've not mentioned it, about another reason I wanted to do the podcast, because it's again just a middle finger up at the script, which I love to do. And the script's isolating me, basically saying like, oh, you believe this and you know this and this has changed your life, but it's not true for most of the people around you. So I was like, yeah, that's maybe true, but I can just talk about it to everyone around me, which the podcast is my way of doing, and then the script's just wrong again.
Yeah.
And then the people that resonate will just gravitate towards the podcast and what I have to say, and then the people that don't, and that's totally fine too. You do you. And then I'm just left with a bunch of listeners who do resonate with the message, and then I've just created that community around me that the script says wasn't around me. And again, it's just another F you to the script, which I love to do. So
to summarize then, for your identity, whatever, like you want your identity to be, aka it should be the real you, but like, could you just, how with our resolutions, we're like, oh, let's put out like 3 goals or like 3 words that we want to describe our new resolutions, or like, what would you say is your identity? Like whether you're working towards something or whether it is you're there now, like what do you want it to be?
What do you mean?
So like I was sort of thinking, I guess with New Year's, I was wanting my identity. Like there's things like for my real me to shine through, whether it be things that I do, whether it to be like with health and fitness wise, but I want to like, my identity I feel is like fun, easy, and like I really want health to be a big part of that, whether that's the best word to describe it or not, but that's what I want my true identity to come through as. I just wondered if you don't have to think about it, but I just thought it might just be nice. Like
what words would I use to describe the real identity?
Yeah, like your real identity.
Yeah, the same things I said at the same resolution words, like light, fun, consistency, consistent, deserving.
Yeah.
All the conscious, I think all these words that I say that just feel very right to me are the words I would use to describe my identity. All these words that I've said throughout the podcast, like easy is another one. But yeah, I think what at the base of it, because I like to keep it really easy, is that, there's that word again, easy to understand in this case, is that my identity is now just me minus the script. And then the world's my oyster at that point. And yeah, you're asking for like, the world's my oyster, what words would I choose? I would choose the words that we said last week, and I would choose the words that I've said throughout, like conscious, fun, deserving, consistent, easy. Those words are the words that I would pick. And I think, but yeah, at its core, because you can pick whatever words you want, whatever words feel right. I think the core is me is now me minus the script. And that's just, if it feels good, it's me. If it feels like a 7 out of 10 plus, it's me. If it's not those things, it's the script.
I'm just thinking for anyone that's listening or watching, like if they want to either have new resolutions or achieve something, like I guess get past the script and let your real self come through, like things that you want to be, and like I mean it it might sound confusing, maybe I'm getting the wrong terminology, but your identity is you minus the script. Yes. But it's like, what do you want you to be? If you feel like you're in a bit of a fog at the moment, that you can't find your real sense of self, like maybe even making a note of like, you want to be, like I want to be fun, light, like health orientated, like maybe like noting those down, talk about it and make those words part of your resolutions to help you carry out your goals to get to where you want your real self to shine through. I just thought it could be a nice.
I think definitely, I mean, we spoke about it before, but I think building a case in favor of yourself is a really good idea. So writing down things like perils of your life, writing down the things that feel right about you. And then I think maybe a really good place to start, the place that I started rather than do that, is just to become aware that when you're alone in the room, you're not the only one in the room. That's all I did. Because I think when I could start to identify the script, and then I could start to realize that that's not me, I was then able to deal with the other stuff way easier. Again, there's that word, it all became way easier.
Yeah, it's just becoming more, I guess, conscious. But I find when sitting alone without any music playing, or having a moment to myself, like in the car without any music playing, and it's just me and script, sometimes that's when the script can come in and you can start spiraling out. But I think sometimes it's a nice way to practice just to enjoy being you in the moment. And if the script does come in, just like, yeah, whatever. I know you're there. You're going to always keep me company when I'm alone, but I think just really trying to tune into that fact of like being alone, and it's that comes into your identity and your self-worth as well. Like, don't let the script come in and start telling you all this nonsense that isn't true.
But it will.
It will. I'm not saying like you're going to get rid of it completely. Like, it's just living with it, and the fact that you need to believe that you're worth more than whatever the script will ever say to you.
It is that, yeah. I think I think just awareness is the best word to use. I think it's just becoming aware. And for me, it's like, initially it felt strange trying to do it and trying to live beyond the script, because that's why the script's also a good word for this, because you've been reading a script for so long, playing a part, and then you're trying to play a different part, which is actually the real you, but it feels a bit alien in some ways. Like, it feels very great in many ways, but initially it felt a bit alien in some ways, because I'm now doing something that I wasn't doing as much before. I'm not playing the part as much.
Yeah.
So then it feels like, it's like I've been a method actor for many years. It's like when the Elvis, we were saying the guy, what's his name?
Aston Butler.
I think you were saying that he was struggling to drop the accent when he stopped his acting for Elvis. It's a bit like that. That's the perfect example. It's like I'm trying to live as the real me now, but I've not quite dropped the accent that I had before, because I'd been playing a part for so long, and just staying aware of that.
Yeah, he said in his interview as well that I think whenever you play a part, becomes a part of you for the rest of your life.
Exactly. So it's like all these. So we say that I learned about this at a course I did called Broadband Consciousness, with Richard and Liz, and we say you like get a page of the script every day. And it's just like that. It's like it never leaves you. Like all those pages of the script you gather throughout your life, they'll never go anywhere. It's just you can choose to not read them. And
even within those pages of the script, a lot of people have core memories, or at least I do, that you can pinpoint where something happened. Like, I remember the first time I had to ask to leave the classroom to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I had like this weird feeling in my stomach, and I was like, what's wrong? Like, I was getting I didn't know at the time, I was getting really nervous, but I was a child.
Yeah.
But I had this like weird feeling in my stomach, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And every time I had to put my hand up, I got the same feeling. And it's the same now, but it was just anxiety. Well, it was a script. But I was like, whenever you're so young, you can't figure out what's going on. I was like, why do I feel like this? And certain things that people say to you, I've held on to it for years. But it's like those pages of the script, you've got like little highlighted sentences that really stick out, and moments in your life that have really just stuck to your core and probably made you who you are. But it's the script kind of holding its evidence of information at you.
I've got a lot. What you've said to me is I think is great there. Yeah, because I think that's totally true, and it's sparking a lot of ideas in me to talk about. But I'm watching the time. We're running out of time, so I think we should talk about that next time. Well, what you've just said there, I think, should be what we talk about in the next podcast. I think it's a great thing, because I'm talking about memories that I've had and things that have defined me and the things that the script has held on to. Mm-hmm. But then also thinking about how, after knowing about the script and becoming more and more conscious, I've actually been able to retroactively go back to those memories and almost change their meaning.
Yeah.
Because I'm now coming from a place of knowing what the script is and knowing why the script's held on to it and what it's done. But anyway, let's not dive too deep into that. We can talk about that next time. I think it would be a great topic for the podcast, looking back at maybe memories that the script, talking about our story and memories the script has highlighted to try and form an identity. In my case, there's ones I can think of where it's formed a big identity around like social anxiety and communication. So I think that'd be a great thing to talk about in the next podcast. Definitely. For sure. So if you've made it this far,
thank you.
You have any closing thoughts?
I think, to be fair, I think even since the new year, I've had a lot of self-awareness and self-conversations with myself. There was a lot of selves about my identity, and we've had a lot of conversations about it, and I feel like half the time I've been trying to do this, I feel like I've been a fake and a fraud.
Yeah.
But it just feels unfamiliar. I'm not a fake. I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. I'm just trying to be myself.
Yeah, I think there's like two sides to, like, maybe people call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
There's one side where the script's probably always going to say that to you, because I've been a coach now for, I don't know, 8 years maybe, and the script is still trying to make me feel like, I think they call it the Dunning-Kruger effect almost. It's like as you start to know more, you realize how little you know, but still the script is holding on to that and trying to make me feel like I'm not a good coach and I know nothing.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it where I think the script's always going to say that, and I know that's not true, because I know where I can thrive as a coach, and where I do thrive as a coach. And however, I think there's also a part of that that's just, when you are new at something, it's okay not to be okay. And again, that's the script just getting you from a different... It's like, you're great. It's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You're new at something, the script makes you feel like an imposter because you're new to it. It's okay that you're still learning the ropes. That's totally fine. And then there's the other part where you're not new to something and you've been doing it, in this case, approaching a decade, but the script's still there trying to make you feel like an imposter, because it's just always going to be coming at you being the script, regardless where you are in that spectrum. At least that's been my experience anyway.
But I think now the difference is knowing about the script.
Yes.
And starting a new job or a new role or whatever you're trying to do. I know I'm going to fail at something. I'm going to make a mistake. You're learning. I used to get so frustrated. Now I know it was a script.
Yes.
I would literally hate myself and think I was worthless because I couldn't, like, it's like learning how to ride a bike. If you're trying to learn how to ride a bike and you're like, you can't do it the first second you get on it. Of course you can't. It's the first time you're doing it. But you give yourself so much like grief and criticism of like, oh, you're worthless. Like, why you can't do this? You can't do anything. But now knowing about the script, going into any new thing that I'm going to do, I know to give myself grace.
Yeah.
And it might actually make you better at it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the script in the back of your head saying you're going to fail, you're rubbish at this, like, why are you doing this? You're just going in like, this is going to be a bit new, a bit tricky for the first time. Give yourself a moment to get the hang of it, and you might actually do better because you don't have that pressure on you. We could go on for ages.
Yeah, we're going. I think just that maybe my closing thoughts, just something you said there about like failure and that. I think the easiest way I've found to approach, again, there's that word, is I've just tried to ask of like, what can this adversity teach me?
Yeah.
And the earlier, I've tried to just get like, yeah,
100%. Yeah, every time you fail. Like,
in hindsight, I can look back at adversity now from many years ago or many months ago and be like, what could that teach me? But I'm trying to get better at like just shortening that refractory period of like, how long does it take me to like be able to ask that question? Like, can I ask it in the midst of adversity?
Yeah.
Like, because that's very difficult to do, especially when it's something that's very like, I've got many pages in the script that are attacking me about it. It's difficult to do, but I think again, it does make, doing it has made things easier. I
think one more thing. I saw something online where it was like, I'm 28 and Chris has just turned 30. So
old man.
However,
very young man, just
the way
starting my life.
Because I think it's to do with your frontal lobes develop fully whenever you turn 25, like the noise turns down and you actually understand things properly. I really feel that. I feel like by the time I was like 25 or older, I was really starting to understand things better. But you're a kid, like you're young. You don't really know life. Like when I was 19, I thought I knew everything. Of course you don't. And then whenever you have older people saying to you, you don't know anything, you're a younger child, like you'll get there. Then I always look at my parents saying like, how do you know so much? How have you, but they've just done life and they figured it out. However, this thing that I saw online was that, see, if you're 28, you're literally like an 8-year-old adult. And whenever you're 30, you're a 10-year-old adult. So like the life that you experience as a kid versus being an adult is very, very different. But we're still so new to being adults in a way. So giving yourself time and grace to fail is what everybody needs, instead of being like, oh, why do I not know how to do this or know how to do that? And it's then knowing, it's the first time I'm doing this. So anytime I'm like, I don't know, dealing with a mortgage advisor or anything, I'm like, listen, I don't know how to do this. Can you please help me? But you need to have the identity and having that self-worth of being like, yeah, I'm great. Doesn't matter if I don't know about mortgages or anything to do with adult life. I know that. It's fine. I tell that person that and it's okay. They're like, yeah, of course, I'll explain it to you. But before, I would have been like, oh, I can't speak about this. But anyway, going off on a tangent, I just thought it was...
Yeah, I think you probably need to give yourself more credit. I think a lot of this, even a lot of things you've said in this podcast, I think are really like wise.
Thank you.
You know, I think like how emotionally intelligent you are, for example, I think that's such an asset and such a credit to you.
Thank you.
Know, so I think it's easy to compare yourself to look at people who are maybe like your parents or like anyone who's like older than you, be like, oh, they've sorted a lot of stuff out. I think you've got a grasp on a lot of things that are really, they'll take you further than knowing about mortgage as well. You know, because that's something that you could bloody read a Wikipedia page and understand the basics of.
Sure.
You know, so yeah, I think you need to give yourself more credit.
I think failing is just a whole part of your identity. Like, it's absolutely fine. You need to give yourself grace, and whether you feel like you're an imposter or not, you're not. You're just trying to let your real self shine through.
That's where we'll finish.
Yeah, finally. Sorry, guys.
One more thing though.
What?
Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
and
you.
we'll talk to you next week where we're going to talk about like our stories and the thing I mentioned earlier. Cool. Bye.
See you later.